Okay, here's the video for lesson 22. So the challenge with lesson 22 is that we are going to have our parentheses, so we're going to have to write things 2 or 3 times, but we're going to have subtraction in there. So we've got to combine a couple different strategies we have for setting up the problem. So in letter A, we've got 2 times x minus 1 plus 4 star equals 3 star plus 6. So what I notice right away is I've got a 2 out of here, a 2 right next to the parentheses, which means that I am to repeat everything inside of the parentheses 2 times. The problem is that what is inside the parentheses includes subtraction. So before I write it 2 times, what I'm going to do is see what x minus 1 looks like. If I have x, and then I need to take away a 1 that I don't have, the strategy that we learned was to bring in a 0 pair of a negative 1 and a positive 1 together. So now I have the ability to say x take away 1, here is x, and I am going to take away 1, which means that what's left over is an x and a negative 1. That is what I'm going to repeat 2 times. So I've got x and a negative 1, and x and a negative 1. Now I've got 4 stars, and on the right I've got 3 stars and a positive 6. So first thing I notice is that I have my 2 x's here from repeating x minus 1 2 times. So I'm going to cross off those 2 x's with these 2 stars because those are 0 pairs. And I think I need to rewrite because I'm confused about what I have left. It looks like I have negative 2 because I've got my negative 1 plus negative 1 here. I summarized that as negative 2. And I've got 2 stars. And over here I've got 3 stars and a 6. So I'm thinking it makes sense to take 2 stars off of the left and 2 stars off of the right. And as I look at what I have left, it would make a lot of sense to try to cancel out the 6 and leave this star behind. So I am going to bring something in to do that. I am going to bring in a negative 6 on the right. But because I brought in something that has weight, I'm also going to bring the same weight of negative 6 onto the left. I now can cancel out those 6's, and I've got, star on the left is equal to 6 negatives plus 2 negatives makes negative 8, which means my x value, or my shaded triangle, is equal to positive 8. You may want to pause the video for a moment and copy down letter B. All right, so we're in the same situation as last time. I have to repeat this setup 2 times. But when I've got a subtraction sign here, what I notice is that I'm going to have to figure out what x take away 5 is, before I go back and repeat it. So I am going to say that x minus 5, if I don't have anything to subtract, I'm going to bring in my 0 pair. I'm going to bring in a negative 5 and a positive 5. And now if I'm just sticking to what's inside the parentheses, it looks like I need to start with an x and then take away 5. So I am going to take away my 5, my regular 5 there. And now what's left inside those parentheses is a x plus a negative 5. So going back to those parentheses, I have to repeat what I just figured out 2 times. So instead of going through this whole process 2 times, I'm going to say, well, I discovered that x minus 5 is the same as x and a negative 5. So I'm going to repeat that one more time. X and a negative 5. Okay, so I've translated this portion right here. Now I need to add an x and then move to the right side. On the right side, I have 4 x's and 2 stars and then 16 negatives. So I think I'm going to begin with 0 pairs because I've got 1 0 pair here and 1 0 pair here. And then I'm going to take 2 x's off the right and 2 x's off the left. And now I've got so many crossed off things, I want to rewrite what I have left. I'm going to add this negative 5 to this negative 5 and record that I've got negative 10, and I still have an x. And then on the right side, I've got negative 16. This one is a little bit easier now because I've got negatives on this side and I've got negatives on this side, which means if I take some of the numbers off of the left, I can take some of the numbers off of the right because they're all negatives. So I am going to go right ahead and take 10 negatives off the left because I notice on the right I have enough negatives that I can take 10 negatives off the right as well, and I'll be left with 6 negatives. So I'm going to take 10 off the right, which leaves me with x is equal to negative 6. You may want to pause the video and copy down letter C. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at letter C, and if I look at what I have, it looks like what is inside my parentheses is all addition, which means I'm not going to have to bring in anything extra to demonstrate this, so I think I can jump right into my translation. What this tells me is I've got to repeat 3 times over star plus negative 5. So I am going to repeat that 3 times over. And then I need to add another star over here. On the right side, I've got an x and I've got a negative 5. So I noticed right away that I had one negative 5 over here and I've got several over here. So I'm actually going to begin by taking off the same weight off each side. I'm going to take negative 5 off of the right and negative 5 off of the left. Now as I look, I'm trying to decide. I don't have any x's. I have one x over on the right. I don't have any x's over here. And I don't have any numbers left on the right, even though I've got numbers on the left. So it doesn't look like I can take the same weight off each side. What I'm going to do is do a rewrite because I'm feeling a little confused about what to do next and I want to get more organized. So I'm going to organize my 4 stars on the left, and I'm going to add this -5 to this -5 to give myself, oops, -10. And I've got an X on the right. So now what I see is that I probably want to cancel out these stars because I'd like to leave this number here. And I'd like to get it alone. If I cancel out this X, there will be nothing over here and I'll have some other things over here. So I think I'm going to bring in 4 shaded on the left, and 4 shaded on the right. I've created 4 different 0 pairs here that cancel one another out. And now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 triangles are equal to -10, which means that one triangle is equal to -2. And star would be equal to +2. All right, take a second, maybe pause the video to copy our last example, letter D. So again, I've got to repeat what's inside of the parentheses 2 times over. But I notice that I've got a subtraction sign here. I've got to take something away. So I'm going to first figure out how to represent this, and then I will double my results. So I need to make sure that I represent that I've got 2 stars, and that somehow I represent that I have taken away 7. So since I don't have any numbers, I've only got these 2 stars, I need to bring in my 0 pair of a -7 and a +7. And I've got to show that I have in fact written 2 stars and taken away a 7. So there's my taking away a 7. And I realize that these parentheses, 2 star take away 7, really means 2 stars plus -7. So now I'm going to repeat that one more time because it says 2 times over, repeat the result of this. So I'm going to add another 2 star and -7. Then I'm going to add this final plus star. And I've done everything that the left side has asked me to do. On the right, I start with a +4, a star, and then 2 X's. So I'm noticing on the right, the first thing that catches my eye is a 0 pair. I'm going to cross that off. And now, once again, I need to regroup. I like to write things out a little more neatly to figure out what to do next. So I counted up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars on the right. And now I'm going to add this -7 and this -7 as -14. And on the right, I've got a +4. I also have an X. So there's several things I can do, and I'm trying to figure out what to do first. Really, I could cancel anything on here, but I'm going to choose to cancel the +4. I am going to bring in a -4 on each side, If you bring in a positive 14, that's fine too. As long as you're working within the legal moves, you're fine. I'm going to cancel those out, and I am going to record that I have 5 stars and a negative 18 equals 1x. And now it looks like what I'd probably like to do is leave this 18 but cancel out all the stars that are with it. So I am going to bring in 5 shaded triangles, and then because those have weight, I also need to bring in 5 shaded triangles over here. I have 5 0 pairs on the left that I can cancel. And now what I've got left says I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shaded triangles equals negative 18, which means that 1 shaded triangle equals negative 3. My star would equal 3. Now that you've got your example problems done, go ahead and try your assignment for today.